Hello and welcome to another daily devotion. As this week we've delved into the Marvel universe and trying to pull out lessons of faith that are scattered throughout this comic and movie series. And one of the most poignant ones that first came to my mind when this topic was suggested was Warren Worthington. He's not a very famous, or he's not a fan favorite in many ways, but in the Marvel universe he's known as Angel. Now, Warren has a father who fears anything that's different, any mutation, which has been come to be these human beings are made differently than other human beings, and so are to be cast off, discarded, or destroyed. And his father, whom Warren is always trying to gain approval from his dad, always seeing his worth as a part of who his dad has named him to be, or has decided that he's not worth anything based on his dad's disapproval. And I wonder how many of us have worked so hard to get recognition from a parent or a grandparent or a godparent, a coach, who we see up on this pedestal and means so much to us, and we try everything we can. Maybe it's, we've got an older sibling or a younger sibling even who is kind of the golden boy or girl of the family, and we're trying to live out of that shadow. Well, that's very much Warren Worthington. And we come to meet him in this scene where he's in the bathroom trying to cut off the wings that are naturally a part of his mutation and all these feathers. And in doing so, trying to become something he's not so his dad will love him. And in the end scene, we see him telling his father that this is how he was made. And I hear so many echoes of the LGBTQ community of Christians that I've talked with over the years. And the hurt of rejection or non-acceptance of his father. And he crashes through the office building window, and those wings that he had earlier been trying to cut off to fit in, to fit the mold, to be everything that everybody else expected him to be, suddenly furl out, and he soars through the sky, triumphant, the angel that he is or becomes. And I don't know about you, but as a person also, I've struggled a lot of my life trying to prove my value to others, trying to prove myself, whether that's been as a pastor or as a son, and it feels so nice to say, I don't have to prove myself anymore. That doesn't mean you lack ambition or you lack things that you want to do or drive in your life. No, it's just you don't have to measure up in somebody else's eyes anymore. The only eyes that really matter are God's, and how we seek to be fully who God calls us to be, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and do our best to be the children of God and disciples that God calls us to be. Everything else can be chaotic noise, but man, the critique of somebody who cares about us or that we're trying to get approval from can be soul crushing, can it not? I remember just one last story. I know this one's going long, but Frank Peretti, a writer who writes the Piercing the Darkness in This Present Darkness, kind of angels and demons battle, sci-fi, religious writing, writes a non-fictional book called The Wounded Spirit. And then he writes about how in junior high, kids who he tried to fit in with would call him, he's overweight. They call him horrible things. They do nasty jokes and hurtful, humiliating things to him in the locker room, where he just feared having to go in and take a shower or get undressed because of these kids and his self-consciousness about his body. And he said it took him 20 years of his life before the wounds of his spirit, those scars, could heal. And he realized, I don't need to let those kids who probably haven't thought about me in a decade I don't need to let their hurtful things hold me anymore. I need to cut those and not be bound by them anymore and live into a grace of God that is big enough and wide enough for me and over time and forgiveness for those kids who are awfully cruel. To me, angel mirrors that arc of seeking value and never measuring up to finding God and saying, God made me wonderfully and beautifully and fearfully made. And before God is where I answer, not before man. I hope at some level this has met you somewhere in your life this day and given you some things to think about and what matters and what gives us value intrinsically in the grace of God.